kept saying it, that there wasn't a specific exchange rate that we were targeting. Remember, the exchange rate, as we always say, is an endogenous, variable.
Hi, great people of Ghana. It's your Nigerian girl pleasure bringing you political news in our channel Ghanatube. Here are the recent happenings in Ghana, and we are always committed to bringing you all the trending news, all the news your way. Please switch.
Has described the current pressures on the city as a short-term blip caused by some cash flow issues. But he was, however, quick to add that things should normalize soon by some drastic measures implemented. Dr. Isiama has been speaking in an interview with Joy Business.
Through that entire phenomenon, we kept saying it, that there wasn't a specific exchange rate that we were targeting. Remember, the exchange rate, as we always say, is an endogenous, variable. It must move. It can move by the minute, it can move by the second, it can move by the day. And that is the framework we have, what we call a flexible, a managed floating system. That is what we maintain. Now, when a currency appreciates sharply, it brings on board other phenomena. And we are beginning to see some of those phenomena at play. For example, immediately imports become a lot cheaper. And so you find that people who wouldn't have been settling their import bills that early, they find it cheaper to do so. And so it's just natural to begin to see pressure build up on the currency just because of the sharp appreciation that occurred. So for us, what you see out there as pressure is just a cash flow. The macroeconomic fundamentals are very strong. As at the end of June, you saw all the numbers, growth is strong. The external sector is very much viable. The current account is very strong. You've seen the surplus. You've seen the trade account. The balance of payment is as strong, strongest than ever before. And so, in terms of the macroeconomics, nothing has changed. Things are actually looking good. Inflation is on the downward decline, as you know. And so, ideally, there shouldn't be pressure on the local currency. Rather, what is happening is just because of the sharp appreciation, we were beginning to have some, some cash flow problems. Now, why specifically? Again, because we've seen some decline in terms of remittance inflows. That also I can explain the phenomenon at play. We've had some IMTOs and other remittance companies beginning to pull a fast one, beginning to use other channels. Over the last 2 months, for example, we have seen very limited interbank trading. And so you find that unless the central bank is there, supporting the markets, then you would see pressure building up. So when you talk about market demand, it doesn't have to be the central bank alone. Remember, the banks ought to have their own inflows that accrue through remittances, inflows that accrue through trade. It is true that certain inflows, like from mining, for example, those accrue to us. And so it makes sense that we support the markets using, those inflows that come in. And so one of the things we have done this week is we have written to the mining firms, right, for such inflows to be redirected to the commercial banks. And all these is meant to help, improve interbank trading, in Forex. That way they are able to support imports and other flows without necessarily, waiting for the central bank to come in with some support.
To break this down further, let's cross over to Zoom and speak with the CEO of the Association of Ghana Industry, Seth Chum Akwabwa. Welcome to the marketplace. What do you make of the assurance coming from the governor of the Bank of Ghana, and whether it gives you some comfort?
Well, thank you very much. I think it's a good assurance because we've all been witnessing the stability we've had and the cedi appreciation in the last few months. And we welcome it. We think that every effort should be made to sustain it. And therefore, the recent blip that we experienced gave cause to worry. And therefore, the assurance from the governor is good. And a bit of the normally the depreciation we experience in the economy or in the city has to do with speculation. And when people are not sure of the market arrangements and not sure of the conditions, then they tend to speculate. And the speculation then leads to all kinds of hoarding of currency. People who don't even need the currency, they would like to store it. Then it fuels the situation and makes it even worse. And therefore, talking positive to the market is very important. And I think that's exactly what the governor has done. That indeed there's a full assurance that the stability we've experienced will be sustained. And I think that is good. And government and the governor should make every effort to make sure that it's sustained. So I like the assurance, and I think it's welcoming.
Great. Let me also get your thoughts on the recent directives and new guidelines on Forex and the restrictions by the Bank of Ghana. Is this something that you're welcoming as an association?
Sure, we do. We do welcome it because, you see, when the cedi started appreciating and we had the stability in the economy, we all hailed it, and we think that is the right way. Of course, we've had the flip side of it. A few sectors have been affected as a result of the cedi appreciation. But all in all, I think it's a positive development. And therefore, if it is positive for the economy, then we must make every effort to sustain it. And one way to sustain it is to ensure that the regulations governing the use of foreign currency is well managed and is enforced. The recent announcement by the governor of the thresholds is not different from what we had previously. The threshold hasn't changed. It was 10,000, above 10,000 declaration, and it is so today. It's just a bit of the enforcement of it that he's trumpeting. So there has not been any change, and therefore welcome the development that people should comply, and it helps. See, when you have too much informality in your operations, it affects your own management capacity. It affects a lot of things in the system. So we should reduce the informality. People should do business, transact business in the formal sector. If you are selling money out, as much as what we use the banking system. If you are going above the threshold, declare it. So these are basic principles in business that we should adhere to. So we welcome the idea, and I hope that people would comply. And then we have sanity in the system to ensure that our currency stability is sustained.
Will this measure in any way impact your business
and are doing big ticket transactions? Ideally, why would you even carry so much currency on you? All the risk that is associated with it. You wouldn't like to do that. You like to do the business through the banking system. Transact the business through the banking system. If you are sending money, do so. If you are receiving money, do so. So I don't think it should affect businesses as much. And in any case, they are not preventing you from sending money out. They are only saying that if you are going beyond a certain threshold, then declare it at the port of entry. And if you fill the right forms and you really need the cash from you, then declare it. When it's declared, you can still take the money. So I don't see how this should affect businesses, unless you are so informal in your operation and you think that if you, by declaring, you are creating problems for yourself. That's where you have a problem. But all things being equal, if you are doing business and you are doing formal business, I don't think this directive should affect you. In any case, as I said earlier, this is not something new. It's a law and a regulation that already exists. I think it's just an effort to enforce it. And enforcement is important. If you didn't need to enforce it, then why did you have it in the first place? So if you're enforcing it, I think it's all right. Thank you.
Okay, I want to get from you as well. When you read the directive, it tells you that pricing in Ghana cedis is something that the directive highlighted. How committed are all your members to that effect?
Well, this is also not new. It's something that we talk about all the time. And Bank of Ghana always emphasize the need to stop the dollarization of the country. It means that you must be pricing your goods in cedis. The challenge we've had in the past is the instability in the cedi. Because if you are doing a contracting job, for example, and you price it in cedis, and your cedi depreciates, you have a challenge being able to play your suppliers and your input dealers. So the reason why people normally quote the dollar as the basis for pricing, especially when it comes to contract figures, is because of the instability in the currency. And therefore, with the effort being made and what we have experienced so far, if we're able to sustain it, Why would anybody like to price in US dollars or any other currency? You price in cedis because you know that within a certain reasonable period, the cedi will be stable. Today, if you go to most of the hotels, most of them are pricing in cedis because the cedi has gained some weight. So I think that a lot of effort has to be made at the Ghana macroeconomic environment. If we do so and we sustain it, the pricing will automatically come in cedi. There will be no gain pricing in dollars. So again, it's a good call, but the flip side of it is that let's continue the effort in sustaining the stability we've had, in sustaining the appreciation, not necessarily appreciation, but at least stabilizing the cedi and the other currency relationships. If it's stable, people will price in cedis, and that wouldn't be a problem at all.
Yes, thank you very much for your time here on the marketplace. Chuno Kwabwa is.
Please do well to like, comment, and follow. Put on notification bell so you get all our news one by one. Thanks.